Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Mel K Show. It is September 7th, 2021, and I am here with the man that I have gone to for months trying to figure out what is going on out there. How can I protect myself financially? A lot's gone on recently, and I had to bring Andrew back because I know a lot of you guys have talked to him and like him, and I have some questions. So thank you for coming back, Andrew. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Mel.
Thank you. There's so much going on every level geopolitically. And I've seen a couple things lately that freak me out a little. And I want my audience and my subs and the people that watch us to be prepared for whatever's going to come next. And we're seeing crazy inflation. The gas prices are going sky high. The unemployment just ended, but the employment situation is terrible. And it's just looking very manufactured again. And then last week, I see that General Flynn, Chase Bank decided they're no longer doing business with General Flynn, but then they reversed it after people complained, but he's not the only one. So it is appearing that there's all this motion and it's making it more and more a good idea to protect yourself. And we talk about gold, and I wanted to see how the market's doing and what it's looking like right now for people that don't know much about the gold market.
Well, it's still readily available. It's still cheap, in my opinion. And I just think it's an excellent time to be buying gold and silver. There have been many times in the past where events like, say, the shutdowns for COVID, the stay-at-home orders that happened like almost a year and a half ago, events like that, or the financial crisis where there's just a big run on gold and silver and you actually can't get it, but you can make a deal to buy it, and the shipment is delayed, or you're overpaying to get it now, or you're overpaying and having to wait to get it. People really do need to make a move now, right, and learn more about it and invest in gold and silver while it's available.
Right. I had sent you something from Ron Paul, who I've always trusted, and it has been spot on, I think, in many ways on many topics, including the Fed and auditing the Fed and all this stuff with that. But he now is out there saying, like he's been saying for decades, that he believes the only way to save our economy is to go back to the gold-backed currency. And this is something Trump and Judy Shelton were supposed to be working on. And I wanted your thoughts on the possibility of that and what that would look like.
I think we absolutely have to. I think that the way that the Fed Reserve has run things of late, it's time where, in comparison to an individual's financial situation, you would file for bankruptcy when it's this bad, and you just start fresh. And that's what we have to do as a country. I think
does look that way.
As Americans, I feel like we would actually be okay. Take a little step back, or maybe a giant step back, in order to take a few leaps forward in the future and actually set things on the right track, like how it used to be.
Right.
It's people are out there looking for something that could be a true store of value. And you mentioned the Ron Paul video, also the one for Palantir. I hadn't seen that until you'd sent that they just bought, I guess it was like $50 or $80 million worth of gold, or just invested in 50 or 80 million, which it's not much, but it just makes more sense to do that than, say, when you hear that Elon Musk has just bought like a lot of Bitcoin or Dogecoin. It's that's so volatile. Right. But when the big companies are investing in gold and silver to that magnitude, it's portfolio insurance. They're smart. They're just hedging their bets. They see what's coming, like you do.
Are you going to speak? Sorry, Rob.
Hi, Andrew. How are you? Rob. I heard you took a few days off.
Oh, it was in the Bahamas.
You look like you have a little tan.
For sure. Oh, it's so beautiful over there, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great. Because you got to take a break nowadays. You just got to get back to nature. It's too much, too fast. I wanted to also tell you this. I saw that we talked about before that, like, everything that's wrong, they're going to blame on COVID. So finally, they're out there saying that Social Security will probably be broke, even though it's our money, by 2034 because of COVID. When it's been a Ponzi scheme the whole time. But, all these years they've been saying, oh, Social Security is not going to be there. It's not going to be. Now they're actually saying it's not going to be there. But they have a caveat that it's COVID. So now, people count on that. And that's another reason to invest in gold. And I really think that what people need right now is not just stability, but long-term security. And I really don't, when I'm seeing the shenanigans with the banks, and now like they're coming out and they're admitting all this, everything that's going on, inflation, gas price, everything is about COVID. And so as far as that, now people have said to me about the gold, like, I'm not rich, I don't have a lot of money. That's not the point, right? Isn't it just to start wherever you can and build?
Yeah, you absolutely have to. Back in the middle of my entire career of gold and silver for a short while, actually a few years in between, I also worked for a financial newspaper called Investors Business Daily, which is like, it's the second biggest financial newspaper for stocks. And the owner of the newspaper is a guy that like made $1 billion in the stock market. He was a billionaire in the 90s. And we used to get to hear him speak at all the different seminars often. And that was always a question in reference to stocks. They would, and I think it applies here, but what they would say is, I don't have a lot of money. I've just got like a few $1,000s or a couple $1,000s. Should I just do something other than stocks? And he would say, no, you start with what you can. And he notoriously started with like $5,000 in Procter & Gamble stock and built that into a multi-billion-dollar empire. And I think that people should use that same approach for gold and silver. I don't think they're going to be able to turn it into a multi-billion-dollar empire, but I think that you can protect what you have. Right. And it's so important. I literally just spoke with a client, someone that was that actually is a listener of yours. And had seen us on the show, and actually had bought from us, and they bought 2 different types of silver and 1 type of gold from us, and received it and wanted to discuss like each piece and like understand why you would have one over the other. And I find myself doing this often, so I guess it's good to revisit. People are looking to have gold and silver, not just for a store of value and not just for security. They actually believe that it will be a potential currency in the future, especially as the dollar gets devalued. Gold and silver in some places are being used to barter with. And I have a client in Las Vegas, or actually it's an outer area, actually probably an hour away from Vegas, but he gets a kick out of bartering for many different things. So it is happening now. Right. I think what stops some people is they want to understand, how can I know what the value of each item is now, and what will it be if there's a problem, like if the dollar went belly up, or if China did overtake the dollar as the world's reserve currency, or if United States somehow bankrupted the Fed and decided they were going to the gold standard, like how would I use this? And I don't think having the answer to that is as important as making sure that you have it when you need it.
Right. So, right. You just don't want to come late to the game. It's already somewhat, it's later in the game, but now we're seeing so much uncertainty, and at least it's the one thing that's always been certain. And on top of that, another thing that's happening is I have a couple friends, especially people, what I do here is that the EU is financially basically broke. And a lot of the pensions in the European countries for cops and firemen are gone. And of course, they're saying the same thing there. But I have a feeling that a lot of our pensions in America are not what they seem either. There's a lot of things happening. And and then there's also a lot of the people with the 401ks that it just seems that there's more and more chatter that people are getting nervous that there's going to be some kind of event, financial collapse in America in the next couple of months. So in that sense, have you been hearing or seeing anything other than the obvious inflation?
A lot. We have people calling us to roll over their 401ks and IRAs into precious metals IRAs. And we send them the paperwork. They get it back to us quickly because they want to get this done fast. They can sense that something's coming, but these can take sometimes 7 to 10 days or even 2 weeks to get set up. And they're calling after 4 or 5 days saying, where are we at in the process? Are we almost there? Like people can feel it. Like they know something's coming. Yeah. And I'm not asking people to cash out their retirement accounts, but they could roll over a portion or all of it into precious metals while we sort of weather the storm, so to speak, and see what happens with the other financial markets like stocks or real estate. And then after, if those were to pull back significantly, we could always help people roll back to where they were initially and have securities again.
Right, because you buy and sell.
Yes.
Like
yes.
not everyone does that. You buy and sell, and once a client is a client, you work with them through the longevity of their experience from buying, selling, and adding and subtracting all of that. Do you have questions, Roberto?
Well, there was another thing that we went through, Andrew, actually just in the last week. We use certain payment platforms, and certain payment platforms have become less friendly to certain types of people. So we needed to be a little nimble. So we kind of shifted from something called PayPal to Align Pay for our top payment gateway, which is a new startup by Dan Bongino, and a really interesting guy who has been an early investor in a lot of different things, and a big Bitcoin guy. So he's very big into the gold standard, currency autonomy. And part of that is also the big banks, because we were talking about some of the money center banks and the fact that, if you have a lot of money in a money center bank, that there is some risk with that. And we feel the same thing. So, one of the things I like about precious metals is that there's a physical delivery and it's a hard asset.
Yeah, it is. And for anybody that's really ever had like a significant amount of cash in the bank, it's not a good feeling. You feel like it can be taken from you for many different reasons, and you want to have it somewhere where you feel like you can get to it. And it's a real concern these days, especially the way that we're being treated at the banks.
Right.
I'm at the bank every day, and I almost always see of or hear of a super irate customer, and like every single time, it's turned into a not so pleasant thing, like going to the DMV.
Right.
Or
the airport now, like we talked about.
Airport.
Going on a plane, there's zero hospitality. Don't bother us unless you must bother us, and then we won't like it.
Yeah, we got to go on a plane tomorrow. We're really unhappy about that.
and it's like, and the bankers there, you get the feeling that your funds that you have deposited there, that they feel that those are their funds, exactly. and they treat it like they do.
Right.
And we're still having a lot of clients go into the banks and want to wire us funds to invest in gold and silver. And we have the bankers trying to scare the clients out of sending the wire transfer. We have it happen like a few times a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The banks don't want that. I notice more and more, even though, of course, Chase is hoarding silver and gold. They
Exactly.
don't want the average person to have it. And that's not that's got to be looked at from time to time at how they are manipulating that whole market. But and on top of that, what was the other thing you wanted to ask, Rob?
Well, I saw that there, as it relates to the banks, there's a concerted effort to push down the smaller banks, which tend to have a little bit more, autonomy or leniency, and to push people to the money center banks. There's some new regulations that the administration is pushing towards the smaller banks to push us toward the money center banks. So,
right.
I think, like we're dealing with it right now. We're looking at, what are our banking relationships and how do we diversify that? I had never really thought about that historically as a business person.
Yeah. And the other thing I've been seeing is that they're bringing not only back the wealth tax under this faux Biden regime and the inheritance tax, but again, this is a big reason to change that money into gold before, your family members get ripped off after you pass away. But also they're hiring, I think, 80,000 IRS agents. Like all of this stuff that they're doing, you got to know, how can I protect my money? And having literal gold seems like a really good answer to those things.
Yeah, it seems like what they want to do, and we've known this for a long time, it just still amazes me to see it, is that they want to have everything done electronically and just completely eliminate cash. When I was in the Bahamas for 4 days just this past weekend, they don't use cash pretty much anywhere except for inside of the casino. No cash. So I'm staying at one hotel. Then I go to the hotel where they do have the casino, but there's all the shops on the outside that are part of the property of the Atlantis casino, which is not where I stayed. And I realized that after trying to pay for breakfast that they don't take cash, and they're like, do you have a card? And I didn't bring a card. And I'm like, I'm thinking I have to leave my wife behind and then go back to the Four Seasons and get my card and come back. And they said, oh, so you're staying at the Four Seasons? What room are you? And they just charged it right to Four Seasons, but it's a completely different hotel. And the way that it's set up there is everything. That's probably how they collect data, how Facebook does. Like they probably have like all kinds of figures on who spends what, where they're staying, and eliminate cash. And the reason why they eliminated it is they're blaming it on COVID.
Right. Everything's COVID's fault. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And that's interesting that you bring that up, because something else that I was looking at, the Bank of International Settlements, that controls the World Economic Forum and the International Monetary Fund, they've been talking a lot about their one world order. Now it's their one world currency. And God forbid you see them pushing us here to communism and to that new world order mentality and all that. Well, the Bank of International Settlements, people need to know, owns the central banks, including our Fed. And if they're pushing for that, of course, now we have, on top of that, Russia and Saudi Arabia are no longer going to use the US dollar when it comes to oil. So the US currency is really losing steam all over. And I also believe China, too, is going back to gold-backed yuan, but also on the same time, they also are trying to, they're getting rid of their US dollar reserves. So what does that mean for all of us?
Yeah, it's China has for like the last 10 years been trying to topple the dollar as like the world's reserve currency.
Right.
In fact, China didn't even become one of the world's reserve currencies until maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago. Like it's hard to believe that their currency was not one of them already. But like anything else, like their currency has also suffered the way that ours has, and it's been very corrupt. But what they've had to do is make some major corrections as to how their monetary system is in China in order to legitimize it so that they could be a world reserve currency. And for years now they have been, but that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to overtake the dollar as the world's reserve currency. So that's why I believe that China is in part bailing out the Deutsche Bank,
right,
who has been at the brink of failure for years.
Right. They're also bailing out that Evergrande. It's like a giant, I guess they're a big builder, but they overbuilt whatever. They're in giant debt. Apparently, like they owe 172 banks money. They did it through trusts. Yeah. So that's something that's going on right in China right now. People don't know that's similar kind of to when they bailed out our banks, too big to fail, and bailed out all the banks during after 2008 and let banks like Rob's Bank, just go by the wayside. But yeah, no, we're in that place. But it does look like China, Saudi Arabia, and Russia really are dumping the dollar as fast as they can. And then our dollar won't mean anything over there, but gold will still carry weight no matter where you go. Yeah,
as the dollar loses value, gold will continue to gain value. And It's always done that. You can go back over time. It's always done that. And we really are at a similar situation to where we were prior to the financial crisis around 2008.
Right.
And it was Bear Stearns' failure at that time that sort of kicked off the just the downturn. And if we were to see the Deutsche Bank go under, it would it would be many times worse than Bear Stearns. And this isn't just scared talk. It's actually a real possibility.
Right.
And anybody that's invested in gold and silver, you'll look at what you have and you'll basically just have one question: why didn't I get more when I could? And that's it. It's a human nature for sure.
Yeah, we keep seeing that. We keep seeing that all over the world, that these big countries, Philippines, Hungary, these countries are storing up on gold. There's a reason. And we in America we're not usually paying attention to that, but luckily a lot of people are awake and are seeing that. And I know you don't either. I don't want people caught off guard again, because, and the other thing is with this digital currency and then the track and trace stuff that they're trying to implement all over in California and New York, on your phone. And people have to know that this was the beginning of what happened in China with their social credit score. But now the social credit score thing in China is also, and the track and trace is now also connected to the banks. So there's like an entire next level of control that our government really does want, which they have there, where it's like you're judged on your they can hold back your money, your paycheck, electronically, and you have no, that's another big thing why people need precious metals and golds in their home or stored somewhere, because I see that if these people get what they're looking at and what I'm watching them try to pull off with the communism, and then get the digital currency, then how far away is it till you open your phone and it's like, we've deducted $600 from your bank account because you had bad emissions in, the state of California. And that's what they're doing in China.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could happen. And it's not like the movies where they transfer Bitcoin anonymously to the bad guys. It's not anonymous anymore. It's all tracked. It is. I'm sure I could probably send you, a few $100s worth of Bitcoin or Litecoin or something else and have it completely go off the radar. But if you're being watched, it can be seen. Everything it's all tracked. The gold and silver, if you buy it correctly, you can have gold or silver that is not tracked. And that's, I feel like this show has been going back to the basics, and we can't say that enough. Like going back to the basics of why you need gold and silver, because it's a hedge against inflation. When your dollar buys less, the price of gold goes up. I mean, these are facts. We need to convert what you can into gold and silver and just let it sit there, forget about it.
And you can always go back,
Yeah.
It's just right now isn't the time to sit around and wait. This is an option. This is something people should do. And if they ever want to sell it back, they'll sell it back. It's fine. Just protect yourself now, because it's really unstable. And things are moving too fast to be caught off guard, or to end up one day, like we talked about before, what happened in Greece, where they one day went to get their money out of their ATMs and all the ATMs were closed. It could happen here at any time. So it looks that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Rob, do you have anything else before we end it, just in case?
No. I mean, I think, it's just a very volatile time. We're going to be on the road a lot. We're traveling. We know how important it is to have that sovereignty, whether it's your own vehicle, because we hate being dependent on their travel mechanisms, or having those assets on you. So I mean, I think it's a really good message, and we appreciate what you're doing for us and our readers.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I just want people to know, not only am I buying gold, and my family is, and my sisters and everyone, but I have to tell you, things are not stable. I mean, obviously they're not stable, and also what's going on in the Middle East. It doesn't seem to connect yet, but it will. And it's a lot of it's about oil and money and things that have nothing to do with what's being said. So it's just, now is the time to diversify your investments. I don't want anyone that's watching me to be unprepared. So Andrew, as always, is the guy I trust out there. He's one of the nicest people, and he's really him and his team. He has an amazing team, by the way. And they're really there there's no question you can't ask, nothing stupid. And nobody knows less than me. And I really have to say, you've been amazing with, I've gotten some great feedback also from friends I've sent to you, Andrew. You're just so, in a game where there's a lot of shysters and liars, you're very trustworthy, and nobody feels pressured. And I really appreciate that for me and for anyone that's come through me. So please tell everyone again where they can find you.
Well, thanks so much. They can find us on our website, which is www.bh-pm.com. That's bh-pm.com, or call us. The number is 866-346-5325. When you call, say that Mel K sent you. And the number
yeah, you have been so nice. I've gotten such great feedback about friends that have come to you and viewers that I love. And also, we have a big thing on my website under the partners page where you can find Andrew. You can ask questions. It's a nice mechanism there too at themelkshow.com. And it's Beverly Hills Precious Metals is where I tell everyone to go. And honestly, he's there to answer questions and to facilitate the best thing. It doesn't matter, rich, poor, whatever. Start where you are. Now's the time. You don't want to not be prepared. And thank you so much, Andrew, and everything you've done. I get such nice feedback, and it's such a pleasure to have hooked people up with somebody that not only I like, but I know is taking good care of them for good reason.
Well, thank you so much. And I hope to be back soon.
You will. Okay.
You know it.
See you soon.
All right.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Andrew.